Welcome back. We're going to continue our discussion on C26, and to help me unpack it all is Mark Jeftovic, co-founder and CEO of EasyDNS Technologies, Inc. Mark, thank you so much for joining today. I read your story on EasyDNS, and I was really taken by some of the concerns that you had written there with this legislation. So for our viewers, again, who may not be familiar with this legislation, could you help explain what are some of your concerns with C26?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Tanya. C26. There's a bunch of other bills that you're already aware of and been talking about, and to me, they all kind of mash together to make this really horrible package. But C26 has been so much under the radar that it even flew under my radar for a while, because I was on a board meeting for the Internet Society Canada chapter, which I'm a member of, and someone asked me on the last meeting, the policy committee, she said, Mark, we were talking about C26. What are your thoughts on it? And I didn't really have much of an answer. I knew about it. I wrote about it briefly in November, and then I did a deep dive, and I was just appalled at how terrible this is. And basically, C26 is a cybersecurity infrastructure safety bill. It's purported to protect the safety of Canada's information infrastructure, online infrastructure, protect Canadians from cyber crime and terrorism. But the problem is that it's so open-ended that it literally, like the words are in the bill, gives the government and quasi-governmental agencies the power to direct telecom service providers, which could be pretty well anything, to do anything or to stop doing anything. And there's no boundaries or parameters around what the word anything means. It just says anything that they think impacts the safety of Canadians. Telecom service providers can be ordered to do or not do anything.
So that, to me, this smacks of government really meddling in private business. Telecom providers are talking about internet providers, cable providers, telecommunications, cell phone providers, that basically the government's going to dictate, you can please stop doing this or please do this. And they have
Correct.
To say yes. This is the law. You have to say yes.
It's not only do you have to say yes, so there's these secrecy provisions in it where you're directed to cut off a customer. And that customer can be a person or it can be another company. And you're not allowed to tell them that you've received this order. You're not allowed to tell them why you're cutting them off. And you have no choice. You just have to cut off this entity, be it a person or another company entirely. And you can't tell them why. And so, just a quick example, like we're a DNS provider. We manage companies' name servers and infrastructure, that kind of thing. And some of our customers are cities and hospitals and even the province. And I mean, they're not going to tell us to cut off the province, but if they tell us to cut off another telecom provider and we can't tell them why, I mean, that can cause these cascading knock-on effects throughout the whole system. And we just have to sit there with our mouths zipped shut. We can't explain what's going on, that we've received this secret order from the police or the government, really.
And to me, that's very shocking. Look, why would an order need to be filed in secret? What's with the secrecy? I don't understand what the motive or impetus would be behind that.
It's already a thing in reality. I mean, we have occasionally received sealed orders that are delivered to us via, our nation's security apparatus. I'm not allowed to copy it. I'm not allowed to write detail. I'm allowed to write down the court order, the date, and the judge who issued it, and the domain name in question. And then they just take the order away from me and walk out the door with it after they tell us what has to happen. And usually now it's always specifically scoped to a single domain, like maybe someone on a web host or something like that. That's happened maybe twice in the past few years. So this secrecy thing is already kind of a standard practice with this government. Well, any government, this predates the current one. And so it's just getting built upon existing, they get away with it to a certain point. So they're just adding more on and they're adding more on. But now even the person who's being cut off their lawyers cannot obtain information under this act as to what's happening to them or why they're being persecuted.
Yeah, and that's That's the shocking point. And we had Joanna Baron on just before you from the Canadian Constitutional Foundation, and she was sharing that perspective that, she was expressing that how can one defend themselves? What happens if someone was targeted accidentally, or they got the wrong person? How do you defend yourself if you don't know who or what the charge is against you? Lots of issues with this bill. We're going to unpack more of it after the break. Please stick around.